Hi friends, this is Rahul Deshmukh and today we are going to cover an algorithm that generally features in one form or another in a bulk of technical interviews. There are many variations of this question. One of the variations is, given a two-dimensional array that represents a geographical map, find the largest island. Each cell in the array can have a value of 1 or 0, where 1 represents land and 0 represents water. Two cells with value 1 are considered to be connected and therefore part of the same island if they neighbor each other. In the algorithm we are going to discuss today, we only consider cells to the left, right, top or bottom of a cell to be neighbors, and cells diagonally across from a cell are not considered neighbors. So here I have an example to show you to make it clear what we are trying to do. So I have here a two-dimensional array. In here, our largest island is 2 since these two cells are neighbors and they form an island. One thing to remember is that while solving these problems, they are about graph traversal. What we do is we traverse each cell in the two-dimensional array. If we locate a 1, we know we have found an island. Once we have found an island, the next step is to perform a graph-like depth-first traversal of its neighbors. Of course, we have to take care to not include the same cell again. In this particular problem, we do that by changing the value of a cell to 0 once we have traversed it. We continue doing a depth-first traversal each time we find a cell with value 1 and then return the size of the largest depth-first traversal. That essentially is the solution. Now that we've explained the algorithm, let's write out the solution in C#. So as always, I have a class defined called largest island, and in it we have a method called run. The run takes in as input the map and then returns an int which represents or should represent the largest island. The first thing to do while attempting the solution is to make sure that we take care of corner cases. Here I have the code written out and I'm going to copy paste it and then explain what it's doing. So this code here is making sure that the array is not null and that each of the dimensions is not 0. Now let's define a variable called largest island that keeps track of the largest island we've found so far. Next, we have to iterate through each cell. So for that, we'll need two for loops, map.getLength 0. Oh, I forgot the initialization, so let's add that in. Row plus plus. And then we do the same thing for call map.getLength of 1 call plus plus. Yeah. So these are our two for loops. Now what happens when we encounter a cell? Well, we have to do two things. First, traverse it if the value is 1. But if the value is 0, it could mean one of two things. One, it could have been defined as water, which is value 0. And second, we could have traversed it already and marked it as 0. In either case, when we find a cell with value 0, we can continue on to the next cell. Now here we write our depth first traversal. So we'll be writing the map island method soon. What the statement is doing a depth first traversal and updating the largest size island in case our latest depth first traversal returns a larger value. We'll write this method, and this is going to be a recursive depth first traversal method right in this method itself, so that we don't have to pass map as a parameter. So this would look like this. Now, as you know, that recursive methods have a terminating condition, and we'll get to that in a moment. First, what we'll do is we'll mark this cell as 0. And now we want to do our depth first traversal recursively. And that looks like this. We'll say 1, because we want to include the current cell in the final result, plus map island, and we want to run this for each of its neighbors. So let me write that out. So we have 4 neighbors, and the 4 neighbors are given by row +1, row -1, call +1, -1. So we are recursively calling map island for each of its neighbors. What is our terminating condition? So first thing to check is if we are going out of bounds, which we can check by making sure that row is not less than 0, or row is not greater than map.getLength 0 -1, since length -1 is the last index, and do the same thing for columns. If call is less than 0, or call dot is greater than map.getLength 1 -1. And finally, if the value at that cell is already 0, we can terminate. So we'll check that. Zero. And there actually we have the solution. Now all we have to do is return the largest island. So that's it. Now let's run a few tests to confirm that our algorithm works as expected. So let's go ahead and build this solution. This can sometimes take a little bit of time. Oh, there you go. There. So the solution succeeded. Here are my tests. We do have to wait till up there. That was quick. And now we can run this selected test. And this is a bunch of different scenarios. And our run finished successfully. That means all our tests passed. So there we have the solution. Now, one thing to remember is that we can also use a breadth first search to solve this problem. In that case, you would use a queue. But the rest of the algorithm should be quite similar. So that's it. Thanks for watching.